Tom Haberstroh is back here. So former Rockets teammates Chris Paul and James Harden, who you just heard from, on opposite ends of the postseason spectrum. Tom, I'll ask you, I'll get a 2-for-1 in here with both of these series that went to 2-0 last night. Does the departure from Phoenix to Dallas and the arrival of Joel Embiid in the case of Heat Celtics, do either of those changes, will they make a difference in either of those series? Enough for them not to end with Suns and Heat, respectively, both #1 seeds, moving on to the conference finals?
It all depends on Joel Embiid's status and whether he's going to be able to come back and play in this series. Because, you know, in the postseason, they're plus 50 with Embiid on the floor and minus 31 when DeAndre Jordan is on the floor. That's the series. That's the game. Is can they get Embiid healthy when they have a chance to get back in this series? Can Embiid come back? Because James Harden, guys, I don't know what's going on with him. I don't. He is a subpar player to what his name suggests. That we think James Harden, and what we're seeing is less than. Here's a stat for you that just blew my mind when I came across it. There are 56 players this postseason that have scored more than 22 points in a game. 56 players this postseason that have scored 23 or more in a game this postseason. Anywhere from Steph Curry to Giannis, all the way down to the Chris Boucher and Jaden McDaniels of the world. James Harden is not one of those 56 players.
Damn.
James Harden hasn't scored
context.
over 22 points in this postseason, and half of those games are without Joel Embiid. So when we're talking about James Harden, this postseason, he has been, by the metrics, the fourth best player on this Philadelphia 76ers team. And that's not going to cut it. If they're going to have a chance in this series, it's only going to be because of Embiid, because I have been waiting for the real James Harden to show up, and he has been totally MIA, no pun intended.
Mavs have a chance real quick
nice.
just to cover the other series. Mavs have a chance to make it a series?
Yeah. I think, look, if Jalen Brunson decides to show up like he did against Utah, yes. But Luka Doncic is getting hunted relentlessly defensively because he has to do so much offensively. And it's like we're blaming Luka Doncic for being gassed because he's a starting pitcher for a baseball team that has to pitch the first and second game. He is so tired because he's got to do everything offensively. And I just don't think unless Jalen Brunson shows up that that's going to be a series.
Michael, were you admiring the MIA play on words just now? Is that what you were feeling?
Really well done. Feeling it.
Yeah, that was good. That was good.
I want that on the page. I want to see that on the page. I love it. I want to go West Coast. Now, it's shifting to the West Coast. Warriors, Grizzlies. And Steve Kerr went there. Steve Kerr said there's a code in this game. Dylan Brooks violated the code. One, I want to know who gets suspended first in this series, who loses a limb first in this series, and who's going to win.
Well, Brooks got suspended. He's already been suspended for the next game, right?
Well, suspended. Well, there's the answer. I was going to say, because I was thinking, I had somebody else in mind being suspended, because I think Draymond's going to be suspended eventually. All right, who loses a limb first, and who's going to win the series?
Who loses a limb first?
Man, I feel so bad for Gary Payton because he's had such a big breakout season and a guy who would be the answer to guarding Ja Morant, who's been sensational. The Warriors don't really have that guy right now who can guard Ja Morant, and I wouldn't be surprised if things get even chippier because, look, Dylan Brooks, what he did against Gary Payton II was not a basketball play. I mean, you can talk about Draymond Green and his hard foul against Brandon Clark. That was a basketball play. What happened with Dylan Brooks was not a basketball play, extremely dangerous, and frankly, I think there was probably more merit for him getting a multiple game suspension given the dynamics of this series and sending a message. Because what your question, Holly, suggests is that the NBA's punishment is not enough to get everyone to chill. I think there's going to be even more fire in Game 3, and I suspect that Steve Kerr's comments probably lit a fire under the Grizzlies. And look, Dylan Brooks hasn't been playing well this postseason. He's been extremely inconsistent. So I think even that suspension in and of itself isn't really a detriment to the Memphis Grizzlies. So I think they're going to be okay in Game 3. And Draymond Green has to watch himself. Draymond has a history of towing the line. He got fined because of his gestures to the crowd and flipping the bird to the crowd. And we've seen time and time again, Draymond Green is not going to go out quietly. And if things go awry in game 3, watch out. Draymond is going to let people know.
Yeah, it's going to get crazy. Mike and Stro, I just feel like the spirit of this series is nasty. At the root of it is nastiness. And I think we're at the front door of it. I think it's going to get a lot nastier. I really do.
Speaking of nasty, or speaking of the code, last thing we got for you, Stro, and we got to let you go. I don't know about you, Michael. I'm glad I didn't go as hard at Ben Simmons as a lot of people. Maybe a lot of people in his own organization did when he didn't play in game 4. And I acknowledge that he lacked credibility when it comes to whether or not he was truly hurt. But now he undergoes a microdiscectomy. And he's out for, 3 to 4 months, but still should make training camp. Do a lot of people owe Ben Simmons an apology right now, Stro? Or is this a case where more than one thing can be true? But if he didn't play and he ended up having to have surgery, looks a lot different than what we thought, than he just, didn't have the heart to step up and play, doesn't it?
Yeah, we could be of two minds, Mike. Like, we can say that situation was not handled well by Ben Simmons, and we can also say there was serious issues behind that whole saga. Like, there could be two things going on here. And I think when you look at Ben Simmons, I am so glad that we can be done with this. I really hope that we can be done with this, right? Like, for the next 3 to 4 months, it was such a boring story for me because Ben Simmons would not talk on the record, and it kept being these passive aggressive comments, these leaks, these shadow figures working behind the scenes, speaking on his behalf. And to me, it was just a real microcosm of why the media game is just so fraught right now, is because we didn't hear from Ben Simmons. We didn't. It was just all this hearsay and all this rumor. And I'm just so glad we can put that story to rest. And I hope he gets back onto the floor and we can move on from this soap opera, because it was a huge distraction to actual really great basketball in this postseason.
That's wishful thinking. We can move on for now. But
yeah. I was going to say.
Next season ain't that far away.
You ain't done with this story. You may think you're done with this story.
Stro, efficient as always. Efficient as always. 30 points on 15 shots. Love it. Thank you, Stro.
Not.
Hey, thanks for watching Brother from Another on YouTube. Make sure you hit subscribe before you leave, and be sure to watch us 3 to 5 p.m. Eastern Time on Peacock. Appreciate you.